just saw a very fast game between Sjow and DBS. DBS's strategy could not even quite get off the ground because there were so many tanks barreling down his front door.
Yeah, Sjow just being very, very tactical. I really feel like he just played a chess match there. Advancing slowly, getting into position, and then just putting the nail in the coffin slowly but surely. He was able to batter DBS back, do enough damage, and take that first game, and it looked pretty one-sided. I'm
really excited, though, because DBS has chosen Daybreak as his match. And Daybreak is a map that, again, it doesn't pop up in any ladder anywhere. Right. You have to only practice in private games. And DBS, like you said, is a pro, spending all his time, full-time, dedicating it to figuring out these kinds of maps. And I think that is a huge boon in these sort of tournaments, when you can pop out on a map where your opponent might not have as much experience with some sort of hidden play.
Oh, yeah.
In the top right, we have the man who couldn't quite get his strat off the ground, but does have the potential to go into big macro mode in this game. It is DBS.
And his opponent, a local you might say, Sjow. You might say.
You may say that. Depends on whether you've ever left the country of Sweden. Otherwise, you can say he's from out of town.
The first time I did a tournament in Europe, I said it was in Germany, and I invited everybody in the Germany area to come out, which was a little bit silly in retrospect. So
yeah, anyone in the German area.
Yeah, it just depends on how you define local.
Anyone in USA, come on down.
Anybody in the continent of Europe, come on out to Dreamhack.
And it's true, because everyone in Europe rides trains. No one actually owns a car in Europe.
I love riding
They can easily show on up.
Trains are really fun to me.
Looks like we're not going to see any kind of early expand from either player, at least straight away. Both of them planning down that big, or that barracks right at the front. And I'm curious if Sjow is going to try to do any sort of fast command center. I generally don't see him do that sort of play. He likes getting fast factories. He loves the Hellion just as a general benchmark unit. But it looks like on Daybreak he does want to go for that long-term play. And it looks like DBS maybe trying to do the same, or might be trying to do something a little sneaky with this one barracks, or excuse me, this one SCV.
Yeah, we do have the gas going down there for Sjow and DBS. What are you up to with this SCV? I think it is probably just a scout. He's going to poke up this ramp and he's going to see, oh hey, Sjow's got his barracks done. He's got a gas starting, so you can see a little bit of tech from the Swede.
Meanwhile, back in DBS's base, we see that he is walling off his front. Looks like it's going to be a standard one barracks early expand. DBS didn't quite get the high marine count I would have expected in the last game. He just had such a hard time getting those reactors up. They either kept getting killed off, or he was delaying them for the tech lab. And I do think that if you get that huge Marine Marauder army, that tankless TPT style, you have to stay on your opponent's half of the map almost always.
Yeah.
You want to be catching him off guard. He moves out, you counterattack. He moves out with too little, you crush it straight up.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. If you're playing against siege tanks, without siege tanks, you have to be mobile, you have to be aggressive, you cannot be static, you cannot be defensive, because you're never, ever, ever going to be able to defend siege tanks by just sitting in one place. Tanks are always going to outrange, and tanks are always going to do more damage.
Sjow doing one of his trademark interesting opening timings. He's going to be getting 2 Marines and then a reactor, and following that up with a command center. I do think that Sjow's going to follow it up immediately with a factory. Generally you see tanks, but because it's Sjow, I would more often expect Hellions to follow that one up. But this is a good way to begin getting those essential add-ons. I mean, even though you're getting a lot of barracks up in DBS's style, in Terran vs. Terran, having any add-on is such a huge benefit to your production. Far more so in the other matchups, it feels.
Because it's Sjow, you just don't know, but he does have that reactor and the factory going down as well, so I think you're right on day 9. We are most likely going to see some Hellion play. Maybe even a little bit of a push with like 6, 7 Marines and a couple of Hellions.
Yeah, I do think that's one of my favorite styles of play is the no tech lab unit push, Marine, Hellion, Medevac in any mixture. It can often catch an opponent off guard. If you consider the possibility of just straight up attacking the front, very often you'll see players try to go for the drop, try to sneak something in the back, but they completely neglect the fact that those basic units work great in combination with one another.
Yes. On DBS's side of the map, we can see he's just on barracks tech right now. He's adding his first tech lab. That command center has, that natural command center, which isn't quite in the natural yet, has finished morphing into an orbital. He'll float it down here shortly. Or he's going to float it down there right now. And we are going to have a 2-base DBS against a soon-to-be 2-base Sjow.
And it looks like, indeed, double Hellion coming down, an engineering bay from Sjow to deal with any sort of crazy banshiness of his opponent. Starport also coming up. Looks like DBS, though, is going to be going again for the big Marine play, and I like the choice to get the combat shield up. Often players, I think, mistakenly get the stim first, which ends up being, not quite so good. You can stim maybe to help you kill off a Banshee, but if you get the combat shield, you can easily withstand an extra Banshee shot. And of course, you can withstand those tank blasts.
Yeah, Sjow moving his Marines right to the back of his base like the instant before DBS scans. So all DBS saw was the factory, the barracks, and a couple of Hellions. I wonder, he's probably just moving them back there in case a drop was to come, but that'd be really, really sharp if he was like, okay, this is the time they normally scan, I'm going to hide my army.
Now it looks like the Hellions moving through the center of the map, get spotting on one watchtower. Bunkers down for DBS, and I really like DBS's position. He already has 2 reactors up. His combat shield is nearing completion. He has +1 up. He's going for the big Marine style, would absolutely anticipate. He skips over tanks entirely. But again, I'm worried he won't push to the center of the map and try to just crush his opponent's map control.
Right. I guess on the other side, maybe he doesn't want to be out there until he has Medivacs and Stim. But yeah, you're right on. He's giving all the map control to Sjow. He's not making Sjow work for it at all. All Sjow has to do is leave his base, and he's got complete dominance of this map.
DBS looks like he is waiting for the Medivacs to pop out. Here comes Sjow. Uh-oh, he has the rally set. Is he going to be paying attention? He's not. Oh no, Sjow somehow wins a miracle award. He does unload every single one of those Marines, which DBS will be able to clean up most of. The Hellions at the front were repelled by the bunker, and Show's already taken some heavy losses.
This is like the exact same thing we saw in the last game. Sjow tries to drop doesn't do any damage. In the last game, the Hellions all just kind of died. This time, the Hellions are kept alive, but the drop also getting pretty hard, getting stomped pretty hard.
And now Sjow going into the Marine play of his own, has everything rallied to the back of his base just in case some sort of drop pops in from his opponent. More Marines going down. DBS a little supply blocked. That is the one thing that you can never discount. The fact that the way Sjow plays can be quite flustering.
Yeah. Anytime you're having to defend, it's easy to forget things like depots or even important parts of your build order. In this case, it's DBS, not Sjow, who slips up a little bit. We've got 3 depots building, and they will certainly finish soon. And as soon as those depots, come on depots, there we go. So now DBS able to macro up a little bit more, throwing down a sensor tower in his main base. That's an interesting choice. Guess he just wants to be safe against drop play. And the first couple tanks are about to pop out for DBS. Siege mode just now starting. Sjow is more the same, man. This is very, very similar to what we saw him do in the last game.
Now it looks like DBS is moving forward with his own troop of Medivacs, and I love this time. The stim pack is nearing completion. He can do a lot of damage to the backside of the base. And Sjow, though, on the other hand, needs to begin doing some kind of big aggressive play. He could begin sieging up tanks up in center. That would be a great way to begin taking advantage of how much map control he has right now. But DBS, gotta be careful. DBS. Oh no, DBS has a couple of Marines still trying to follow those Medivacs.
Oh wow, what a blunder, man. He just lost every single Marine for free. He didn't even bother fighting. At the same time, though, he's got this drop. Oh, and the Viking even spots the drop. Can Sjow get back in time to defend?
Well, it looks like Show's going to have to, at the very least, run those SCVs away. DBS is in the main. He does have Stim. He does have Combat Shield, and there is just not that much for Sjow to deal with it. Sjow has neither Stim nor Combat Shield, so this is going to end up falling very, very quickly in this engagement. DBS absolutely has the positional advantage. So kind of a trade. DBS did a lot of damage in the main, and at the front, DBS lost a lot of Marines to those Hellions. Yeah,
Sjow was forced to fight with SCVs there just because he didn't have Stim, didn't have any upgrades on those Marines. He had to do something else to cope with what DBS was dropping, and as a result of that, he lost 7 workers. Income tab shows us that it's DBS who's about 10 workers up right now, so he has a very healthy economic lead. Oh, a little bit of a skirmish in the middle of the map.
No.
The Hellions all going down, so Sjow slipping a little bit here as we get into the later stages of the mid-game.
But we do see Sjow didn't have all his Hellions there. There were a few that he picked up into that Medivac. He's heading down to the natural expansion. This is not a double-pronged attack, so DBS, if he is looking at the minimap at all, he will be in decent shape. Oh, there's a single Hellion plopping down to deal with that expansion. That's a good little diversion to easily draw the focus of DBS.
Yeah, and DBS is going to section off part of this army and send it back to deal with the single Hellion. Meanwhile, there's 3 Hellions in the back of the natural, and quite a few SCVs are taking some really big damage. DBS isn't paying attention to this at all. Now he's going to pull his workers And they're going to line up nicely for these Hellions. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my God. He lined him up, Mr. Bitter.
He sure did. And as a result of that, losing 10 workers, that's going to equalize the economies quite a bit. 46 workers to 46 workers. Vikings will deal with that medevac with the Hellions inside, but I feel like that makes the game pretty even, Day 9.
It does look even at this point in time. I mean, in terms of the upgrades, we see Sjow does have his +1, but we see 1-1 for DBS and 2-2 getting started. I do think upgrades are probably most important in this matchup when compared to the others, because the Marines are honestly quite fragile units. They deal damage so quickly to one another. So if you do have that upgrade advantage, it suddenly means that you are winning battles by 40, even 50% sometimes.
Yeah. 1-1 for DBS, also 1-1 for Sjow, though. So in terms of raw Marine stuff, it's very, very even. This army of Sjow is going to find a medevac down at the bottom of the map and kill it. There was nothing inside. What looks problematic, though, is DBS's army is really split up, and if he fights this with half his army, he's going to lose. In fact, it will get together. Look how close this is. 50 workers to 53, 4 medevacs to 3, 4 siege tanks to 3, 44 Marines to 47. Very, very even game, Day 9.
This is nail-bitingly close, but the one lead that DBS has is those upgrades. If those finish, then he will have a clear lead.
Yes.
But right now, Sjow is 1-1 and his opponent is 1-1, so they are neck and neck for the time being. 2-2 just getting started for DBS. But DBS looks like he's starting to get aggressive with his positioning. I like that. If you stay too passive in this matchup, your opponent will out-expand and control the entire game flow.
Yes, exactly. DBS trying to jockey for position around the top half of the map. Sjow seems to be going in the exact opposite direction. This could give us a hilarious situation.
Uh-oh, and it does look like DBS sees the army, and it looks like, DBS realized he has to go for the jugular right now. He can't come back. He cannot pull back to retreat or defend.
What is he doing? Where's he going?
Oh, no. That's such a mistake for DBS. He's coming back to try to defend his main. Sjow is going to go in for the huge kill. Sjow now will be able to pick off this expansion command center if he just stims to kill it off, and it looks like it will be able to escape. But the main base is now the target for DBS. A great play. Sjow getting a clear advantage. A gigantic misstep by DBS to pull back and defend right now.
Yeah, just completely misjudging that situation. He was in his opponent's natural, and instead walking all the way back, basically going the longest distance possible to return to his base. And look at this. Just a massacre as DBS tries to attack move into Sjow's army up on the high ground. That is not going to go so well. DBS, when he pulls SCVs, might actually clean this up, but he's lost way too much, Day 9. There's no bouncing back from that.
He has almost no ability to make units right now. He is broke, and this pair of Marines could very well kill off a lot of workers. DBS manages to clean it up barely, but this is the problem with going for the base defense. Once you hold off the counterattack, your opponent will almost inevitably have another gigantic army ready to 1A. Oh gosh, it sounds so unorthodox on paper, but in Terran vs. Terran, going for a base trade is very, very standard, and you have to be able to judge that correctly.
Right, yeah, I think you're exactly right. We do see Sjow is basically pushing through the center of the map with what is probably going to be the killing blow. DBS has a decent-sized army, but the truth of the matter is it's just much, much smaller than Sjow's, who's still able to macro very freely. Sjow's building 11 Marines at a time, getting +2 vehicle weapons, and pumping out 2 siege tanks. So Sjow's macro is in high gear.
And there's the assault on the center. DBS doesn't have his tanks sieged up in time. They get off almost 2 shots, but a single shot from each tank will not be nearly enough to stop the onslaught of Sjow. We do see almost no units back at the front. 8 tanks, 46 Marines from Sjow, a single tank in Camp DBS, and that sensor tower will fall, as will the third base.
Yeah, SCVs being loaded into the... they're being pulled to repair. But in spite of that, DBS going to try to make one last valiant defense, and Sjow saying, I don't even really want to force the issue. He's just going to siege up here, play kind of the contained game for a little while. DBS is trying to stick around. He knows that this is a really important game, and he does not want to lose it, but it is so hard to come back when you're this far behind militarily.
And he tries to drop on the tanks, but good game. Again, Sjow with the superior tactical decision-making. They were neck and